where I would like to go with this is you come to North Carolina, you come to Raleigh, and you're looking, I would say you're looking for opportunities, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember our conversation at SOLA.
Mm-hmm.
Could you explain a little bit more about, because I think I heard your name before, well before, like when I first started networking to transition, as the guy who had like 600 coffees in a year.
Mm-hmm.
Would you mind explaining that a little bit and maybe a few lessons that you learned from that?
Sure. Yeah, happy to. It's funny how that story has gotten around a little bit. So when I first moved here, one of the reasons I chose Raleigh, aside from the great economic setup that Raleigh is, the great weather and the friendly people and all those things, and a place we want to raise our family, I chose it because I thought it'd be fun to truly start something from scratch. So I didn't know a single person when I moved here. Literally didn't know. And despite being in the recruiting, talent acquisition space and running a business for a decade, I didn't have connections down here. We didn't do a lot in the Southeast in my last role. And so when I came here, the first focus, of course, was family. So I was busy trying to get them settled into a house and get the kids started into school, kindergarten, first grade at the time. And so we were bouncing around hotels, trying to use up hotel points because I didn't have any money, because I was trying to save money to start a business and whatever, and get a house and do all those things. And so I was in hotel lobbies and literally kind of went down to the hotel lobby. I had founded the company and named it and incorporated and stuff and set up some of my systems, but I hadn't started doing anything for the company in terms of trying to generate business or to build it or get the next steps. And so I sat down with my laptop. I was at the Fairfield Inn or hotel, whatever it's called, over in Briar Creek, because I was using up points, I think Marriott points or something. And I said, okay, I got to meet people. Let's go to LinkedIn and let's start meeting people and trying to find people I can connect with and so on. But like anything, I believe you have to have a goal and you have to have a target that you're going to go for. And so I looked at kind of the time frame of when I needed to get stuff done. I had run a financial pro forma for the business and what I hoped to accomplish and plan to accomplish. And in order to do that, I knew roughly I needed so many meetings to convert so many things into opportunities, to convert into business, to try to drive the business and so on and so forth. Again, not my first rodeo because I had helped build someone else's business before. So I sat down and I set the goal that over the next 6 months, I wanted to have 600 coffee meetings, which is 25 a week. And it seemed a little bit aggressive, but I knew that as long as I went into one meeting and tried to parlay that into others introductions, and if I used LinkedIn like I knew I could, that I thought I could do it. So 600 coffees, 6 months. That was my target, my goal. What blew me away, or I guess you talk about the lessons learned. I had opened offices and helped open offices in cities like Nashville and Boston and Chicago and other different markets, but I had never done it in the Raleigh market. What I found as I started to reach out to people to try to connect was that this is truly the friendliest, most receptive market I've ever seen. Nashville is similar in some ways. But this market, it seems like everybody moved here primarily from the north, and they've just adopted this incredible hospitality. I want to call it Southern hospitality, to be nice to each other. If I were to reach out to a CXO, a chief officer up in Chicago, cold, or even if I warmed it up somehow, they would never respond to me. But here, it was like I'd reach out to somebody and they'd say, sure, welcome to the area, let's meet up, sort of deal. And so I was greatly, humbly surprised by how kind people were, which really resonated with Kellica. The K in Kellica stands for our leading core value, which is kindness. So it just really resonated. So I love that. That was a big lesson. People wanted to help here. And so it wasn't that difficult to go out and to meet someone for coffee, to learn about them. And then, they would say, hey, you ought to meet this person or this person, much like perhaps when you started networking and someone said, you ought to connect with Keith. It happened so naturally because people wanted to help. I think the final number was 721 coffees is what I achieved in the first 6 months. I learned to switch to decaf very, very early on in that process. I thought I could handle the coffee. I learned where some of the best coffee shops were, and nothing against the Starbucks of the world, but there's a lot of great local coffee shops that I personally love to support. I also didn't have an office, and so it was convenient because I could take my laptop and work out of the coffee shop. When I didn't work out of the coffee shop, I would often work out of the library, Leesville Library, because I could go there and get Wi-Fi and get a desk and get focused and not bother my wife or kids or whatever as we were bouncing around hotels. So yeah, learned to drink decaf, sorry. Learned how kind and receptive people were. But I also learned that, you've got to, in networking, it's not about going out and asking them for something. It's about going out and giving. And I think that's really the biggest lesson. And that's a lesson in networking. That's a lesson in leadership. It's a lesson in everything, right? It's not about what I need. It's about what I can do and how I can help. And yeah, selfishly, if you give enough, at some point people will give back, or they'll want to help you and so on. And so, it was just a great experience. It was a humbling experience, as I had no income and no business. But out of those 721 coffees, we were fortunate that a handful of those turned into eventual clients, or companies that we would work with, or candidates that we would work with. A lot of those turned into future hires, right? I can tie back, I think, 4 of my 5 first internal hires at Calica, key team members, some of which that are still with us, thankfully, 10 years later. But I can tie back 4 of the first 5 to the second person I met in the Raleigh market, which is just incredible, and how that spider web connects out, and you can meet one person next to the next. But literally, first hires came as a result of those efforts, and a lot of clients.
That's amazing. And I really liked the adventure, like the sense of adventure, right? Like going out, starting something from purely scratch, and having those clearly defined goals, or at least some kind of goal, and like, we're going to meet with X amount of people and we're going to see what happens. We're going to leverage these tools, and then from there going out. Like, I agree with you. Like you go out to network, and eventually you're going to find the right people who you can help, and not only who you can help, but also the right people that can help you as well.
No doubt about it. No doubt.
Yeah, and it's a really great story, and a really powerful one here in the Raleigh area, because I heard about you before I actually met you. Well before I actually met you. So
we only hope it was good stuff. But yeah,
all good things. Anyway.